What is going to be the future of learning? I do have a plan, but in order for me to tell you what that plan is, I need to tell you a little story which kind of sets the stage. I tried to look at where did the kind of learning we do in schools, where did it come from? And you can look far back into the past, but if you look at present day schooling the way it is, it's quite easy to figure out
자, 안녕하세요. 네, 예, 반갑습니다. 일주일이 엄청 빨리 가요, 그죠? 눈 감았다 뜨면 일주일 지나 있는 것 같아요. 네, 그래도 우리가 벌써 한 달이나 4주나 같이 이 야코펙트 선생님의 민주교육에 대한 공부 같이 했고요. 네, 오늘 이제 드디어 다섯 번째 네, 시간을 시작합니다. 네. 가급적이면 선생님들 저기를 그 출석 체크를 저희가 해드려야 되니까 네 성함을 네 성함과 학교 이름 이렇게 괄호 열고 네 이렇게 좀 바꿔주시면 네 저희가 출석 체크하는데 조금 도움이 될 것 같고요. 네. 그 지난 시간에 사실은 패널 토론들을 원래 안 볼 계획이었는데 네 그걸 안 보기가 너무 아쉬워서 봤더니 시간이 너무 많이 지나갔어요. 그래가지고 진도가 조금 밀려 있어서 또 지금 또 이게 진도가 밀리면 뒤에 부분들을 선생님들이 못 보실 수 있기 때문에 네 그건 또 좀 아쉬우니까 네 최대한 좀 빨리 오늘은 조금 비디오를 제 말을 좀 줄이고 네 비디오를 조금 많이 보는 걸로 하겠고요. 선생님들 비디오 보시면서 질문 사항들은 채팅에 올려 주시면 제가 바로 네 답변 드려가면서 다음 비디오로 넘어갈 수 있도록 해보겠습니다. 자, 그러면 오늘 첫 번째 비디오 먼저 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 잠깐만요. 네, 소음들이 좀 들어오고 있는데 다른 분들은 가급적이면 좀 네, 소거를 해주시면 네, 감사하겠습니다. Hello. 네, 시작하겠습니다.
Hello everyone, I'm Yaakov Echt, and today we will talk about democratic learning. And when we are talking about democratic learning, we are talking about from changing the paradigm of moving or shift the paradigm from teaching-based school to a learning-based school. This is, I think, the goal of the shift that democratic education want to do. When we are talking about this shift from teaching-based to learning-based, we are talking about 5 fields of learning. The first field of learning is activity. When we come to democratic school, what we see? How it's going, what you learn and how you learn. The second thing, it will be partners. Who is the partners? The inside partners, the outside partners. Who is the partners of the school? Or maybe it's without partners at all. Evaluation, okay, you learn something, but how you evaluate it? That's we will talk in the chapter about evaluation. Time, how it's the time going in democratic learning, if it's like traditional school or in another way. And of course, how it's look, the space, the learning space, how it's look, democratic school, and what's the direction. About these 5 fields we will talk in this chapter of democratic learning. And let's begin with the activity. The activity, as I say, we will focus about two things: what we learn and how we learn. So let's begin with the what. What we going to learn in the democratic education, in democratic schools. The what is, as I say before, it's focusing about human rights. So yes, it's not focusing, it's mean that we don't learn other things, but we can learn everything from the point of view of human rights. We can learn history from the point of view of our nationality, but not alone. Also from the point of view of human rights. We can learn about technology from the point of view of technology and innovation, but also from the point of view of human rights. How we do it? In a lot of democratic schools, we are using the activities of the 70 goals of the global goals of the United Nations. I think this is very fascinating things that happened in the last decade. The United Nations decide what is the goal that they want to achieve until 2030. And this is very, very interesting goals. For example, no poverty, climate change, health, and they bring to us a lot of evidence from different places in the world. So in democratic school, you can find a lot of activities around this goal, and you can find it in the website of the United Nations, or if you want education activities, you can find it in UNICEF. It's a lot of fascinating things that doing today between democratic school. For example, classes from different schools that choose the same goal, try to deal with this same goal and find solution. And also you can find a lot of activities of games with the goals in the network of in the internet. And this is something very, very important. So another way that we can see in most of the democratic schools is that we begin to think about the future. I will explain. In traditional school, most of the time we are talking about the past. I think 70% about the past. What it means, we can teach, for example, science, but it will be not science of what scientists do today and not what they plan to do tomorrow. We will talk about the past. We can learn about different things that exist in the world in the past, but very few about what happened today, about the challenges today. I say, let's say 20% we're talking about challenges today. And only 10% today we are talking about what I want to that will be in the future of the world, or what for example, experts say about the future of the world. And this is something very, very important. In democratic school, you see something, a balance between learning past, present, and future. So we really believe that it's very, very important to learn about the past. It's very important. But it's also important to learn about challenges that the world is dealing today. And it's very important to learn about what experts think about the future and what we want that the future will be. And today we have a lot of websites like this website of teaching from the future today. And it's, to me, it's very, very important that the student will be know that it's not obvious that the future will be good or will be like it was in the past. And in this case, they need to say what they want to, they need to understand that they influence about the future. And that's the climate change. It's a very good example of kids and youth from all over the world that try to make a change. And that's the way that we in democratic education believe to do it. The another thing, so we have all another things about the what, but let's move to the how. How, when you come to democratic school, when you come the idea of democratic education, how you do it. So in traditional school, this is look like the timetable. Every day, every hour, we have a different lessons. So I put it as a different color to different lessons. In democratic school, you can find in the same hour, for example, this is in Monday, you can find some options. How we do it? We do it that, for example, we don't believe that everyone need to learn the same. So we can give people the chance to learn different subject. But it's not only different subject, it can be different way of learning. So it can be by PBL, by SOL, by learning centers, by how to MOOC or challenge-based learning. So it's the idea is that the student can choose what they want to learn and how they want to learn. This is two very important thinking that the student can choose in democratic education. So this is looking the day in democratic education. You can find in the same day, to you as a one person, a lot of options that you can choose. So in the first hour, you can choose from all these lessons. In the second hour, from all these lessons. So this is what I choose, or this student of example choose. He choose these lessons, and he build his timetable. So in democratic education, every student have a different learning plan. But you need to understand something very important, that in our school, in democratic school, lesson doesn't need to be lessons of 1 hour. It can be all the day, one lessons, one workshop, or two hours, or 4 hours, or 3 hours. So it's not need to be breaking to lessons of 1 hour. In some places, we can say, okay, if the student choose what they want to learn, they never will be together. So not a lot, in some democratic school, we have a period of time that all the students together. Most of the time in this period, we do different, the student have different option to do, but we are staying together, and this is showing by this timetable. Schools that begin to deal with democratic education, they don't need to open all the timetable to choose it. They can open only 1 hour. The other hours can be lessons of 1 hour or 2 hours, but only 1 hour will be option to choose to the student, or 2 hours, and that's can going step by step. The idea that we can choose to look on the timetable of democratic schools is how many teaching-based school classes, how many teaching-based classes you can find in the school, and how many learning-based classes you can find in the school. So how many teachers teach as a frontal way of learning, and how many time of the timetable we can find peer learning, teaching student teach other student, and things like this. So in this case, we can find some platform that go back in different schools that try to do democratic education. One of this is, for example, one lesson in the morning that the teacher is leading. In the end of the day, another lessons that the teacher leading. In the middle of the day, it's learning-based school. It's peer learning, it's student teach student, and it's celebration. Another way, especially when school want to get to the idea of democratic education, they open one day, they say, okay, let's do only one day learning-based school. All the other week will be like traditional school. In this day, a lot of time, the people say you can bring your parents, and it can be like a community day that people learn together, the students learn together. When it's going up and you become stronger, it can be 2 days, 3 days, until you have 4 days, and maybe 1 day that you are learning as a teaching-based school. Most of the democratic school, you can find something like this, that some classes continue to be with frontal learning. I don't know one democratic school that did disappear totally. So I think we can find schools that have a few frontal learning by teaching, and it can be some of them a lot, but it will be the two kind of way of learning that mix in the timetable. So that was my chapter, the first chapter about the field of activity in democratic education. We will meet soon in another field. I hope to see you soon in the next chapter. Bye-bye.
네, 잘 보셨죠? 네, 제가 오늘 비디오를 빨리 진도를 나가야 된다는 생각에 막 급해가지고, 네, 오늘 강의에 대한 소개도 안 하고 막 냅다 비디오부터 틀어놨습니다. 어쨌든 뭐, 네, 첫 번째 비디오 자체가 야코펙트 선생님이 전반적인 소개를 하시는 비디오니까, 네, 대충 감을 잡으셨겠지만 오늘 주제는 학교에서 민주적으로 학습한다는 것이 어떤 의미인가에 대한 이야기들이고요. 그래서 첫 번째 비디오에서는 네, 그것에 대한 개괄적인 개념들을 좀 설명하셨어요. 이 이야기를 들으신 분들 중에 그런 질문을 하시는 분들이 있더라고요. 그러면 대학교 시간표 같은 거냐, 대학교 수업 같은 거냐, 뭐 이렇게 질문하시는 분들도 있는데, 뭐 일정 부분 그렇죠. 근데 이제 여전히 대학교 수업도 굉장히 이 교수자 중심일 수 있잖아요. 교수가 학생들이 수업을 선택하기는 하지만, 네, 수업 자체는 굉장히 전통적인 방식이죠. 대부분의 대학 수업들이. 네. 그게 아니라 아까 야코펙트 선생님이 비디오에서 말씀하신 것처럼 교수자가 주도하는 수업도 있지만 상당수는 학생들이 주도하는 수업. 그러니까 내가 배우고 싶은 게 뭐고 어떤 방식으로 배우고 누구와 배울 것인지 자체가 학생들에게 선택권이 가는 것이고요. 그런 측면에서 그냥 단순히 대학처럼 수강 신청을 한다만의 의미는 좀 아닌 것 같다라는 말씀을 드리고 싶은 거고요. 저는 대안학교들을 보면서 아니 왜 대안이라고 하면서 심지어 이 비인가 대안학교들, 이 국가나 교육청의 어떤 틀 안에 있을 필요가 없는 학교들조차도 다 일률적으로 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6학년 초, 중, 고 수업 시간 아침 9시부터 시작해서 1시간씩 뭐 이렇게 다 기존의 근대학교 체제를 그대로 따라갈까? 그렇지 않고 좀 자유로운 상상력으로 수업들을 좀 진행할 수는 없을까? 이런 고민들이 저한테도 좀 있었던 것 같습니다. 자, 그러면 아까 말씀드린 대로 채팅방에 질문들이 있으시면 올려주시고요. 바로 이어서 두 번째 비디오를 좀 같이 보도록 하겠습니다.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yaakov Echt, and we are in chapter number 2 of democratic learning. And today we will focusing about the 5 slices of the pizza of the democratic education. And we will begin with the slice of activities and how we do things in democratic education, how we learn in democratic education. So let's go back to the where we stopped, that we talk about that in democratic education we are moving from a pyramid paradigm to a network paradigm. We're moving from the box, a small box in the field of in the cloud of knowledge, to learning all the knowledge that exists in the cloud. This school that is focusing about the pyramid and the box, we call it teaching-based school, that everything going by teaching. Teaching, the teacher teach them everything. In the other side of the network, where everyone is a student and everyone is a teacher, and we learn in all the area of the knowledge, we call it learning-based school. And in this chapter, we will focusing the change, the difference between teaching-based school and learning-based school. So the teaching-based school, we can also call it 1.0 learning process. And why it's the name 1.0? Because it's like the web 1.0, that the teacher teach the student. Or in this case, we see that the teacher here in the middle, he comes with a good materials that he want to teach it. He think that the student is empty and is moving the good blue materials to everyone. And this is called successful classroom. Everyone become blue. In classroom 2.0, it's again why the idea of web 2.0. The teacher comes with the same blue, but he believes that every student comes with another color, with another specialties, with another knowledge. And it's very interesting, the knowledge that everyone brings with him. So he begin to learn this. And when he learn that everyone is, or the student is different, he can say, oh, this student can teach this student, and this student can teach this student. And he build a network. This is how look the classroom of democratic education. It's place that everyone is a teacher and everyone is a student. In this case, we build a classroom that we call it classroom 2.0. And in this classroom, we have only 2 rules. The first rule is that, as I say, every student is also a teacher, and every teacher is also a student. In this case, we teach only as we are peer learning. We teach everyone, and the focusing is that all the students are a teacher, not the best, not the good one. Everyone is a teacher. So all the school going by peer learning. And the second, it's like this. For example, we have every student have three cards, yellow cards, red cards. I put red cards when I say I don't understand what the teachers say. Green one, it's I understand what the teachers say and I can teach it other. And yellow, it's I have a question. In this case, for example, I teach something and then the student with the green one can teach the student with the yellow one what is around the question that this student has. But we have a lot of other ideas about how to make a peer learning. The second thing is that in the classroom 2.0, we have a common achievement. In traditional classroom, everyone competed with everyone. I can have my best friend, but I want to be better than him in mathematics. In classroom 2.0, we teach one another and we have also a common grades. So, for example, if I have an exam, I will have grades, individual grades, but also a common grades. For example, the classroom of mathematics have a common grades of mathematics. In this case, in every classroom that we have classroom 2.0, we have this graph. And in this graph, we have training, games, training, games, training, games. Training, it means that we peer learning, we teach one another. Game, it's exam. And in this case, we publish the average of the classroom. And then we go back to the student and ask them, what do you think that our grades can be better? And children can suggest how to do the learning process better. And in this case, we go into a game again and like this. And this is like a biofeedback of the classroom. And the classroom become like a football team that they learn to work together and achieve better and better results. It's not need to be only about grades like mathematics. It can be how to organize a trip. It can be how to make everything inside school. Such a classroom 2.0, we do also in traditional classrooms in Israel. And not only in Israel, in all over the world. We do in a traditional classroom that want to feel like the test of democratic learning process. Okay, this was one of the examples how to move from a pyramid to a network. But I want to go with you to another area. How we can, as you will say in the traditional classroom, people learn only very small knowledge that exists in the box. How we can move and teach everything that exists around us in the cloud of knowledge. In this case, we can use a lot of materials that exist in the internet, like YouTube, like MOOCs. And if someone asks what is MOOC, MOOC is massive open online courses. Today we have a lot of courses free in the internet. So you can take courses of the best universities in the internet. But the problem is, if you take this MOOC by your computer alone, only 4% success to finish the MOOC. It's very, very difficult to learn alone with your computer. We can do, in some research, we found that we can achieve 20%, but it's between 4 to 20%. What we do now in different places in the world, we connect the MOOC with the classroom 2.0, that the children look in the computer take in the computer the courses, but they work as a group and they teach one another. In this case, we come with more than 80%, 88%. So the idea is that you can take a very good courses in the internet of the best universities in the world, but if you do it not alone, as a group, and you teach one another in the process that we call it how to MOOC, you achieve much, much better results. I will give you example. Here it's a classroom in Israel, in a Muslim school, and you can see here, they sit with one computer here, and they see the chapter that can be from Stanford University or from other universities in the world. And after they see this chapter, everyone put his cards, green, yellow, red, and then they teach everyone the another one until everyone become green, and then they go to another chapter. This is the teacher training that we do around how to MOOC process in Moscow. You see again, the teachers is working with these cards. Oh, this is a very interesting picture that I bring also from this workshop, because this group of teachers decide to learn how hip hop dance with the computer, and they work about this and they can learn together. So they teach one another hip hop by the computer without a teacher of hip hop. This case of how to MOOC process, it's a very, very influenced way of learning, because it's unlimited what the subject that the children can learn at school. They can decide to learn everything with the best people in the world. And this is the secret of how to MOOC process. And it's this secret of how to MOOC process, it's connect to the major idea of democratic learning, that we give the option of moving from the box of knowledge to the cloud of knowledge. So in this case, we finish this chapter. I will tell you thank you, and I will see you in the next chapter, chapter number 3. Thank you. Bye-bye.
네, 중간에 이 자막이 번역이 제대로 안 된 부분이 있었네요. 네, 죄송합니다. 네, 자칫 잘못하면 야코펙트 선생님이 무슨 이 무크 전도사처럼 네, 오해될 수도 있을 것 같고, 그래서 야코펙트 선생님도 최근에는 그 예전에는 이제 그 클래스룸 2.0이라고 하는 그 학습 방식을 How to MOOC라고 불렀었어요. 그러다가 요즘은 네, 이게 MOOC가 중요한 게 아니고 메시지는 사실은 MOOC가 중요한 게 아니었는데, 사람들이 자꾸 MOOC를 어떻게 학습하면 좋을까 뭐 이런 이야기로 초점을 자꾸 맞춰서 네, 요즘은 그걸 D 클래스라고 이름을 좀 바꾸신 것 같아요. 네, 어쨌든 네. 그러니까 중요한 핵심은 무크가 있느냐 아니냐, 뭐 무크에 얼마나 좋은 과정이 있느냐, 뭐 이런 얘기가 아니라, 네, 사실은 뭐 세상의 모든 지식들이 다 접근 가능한 세상을 우리가 지금 살고 있는 건 거죠. 네, 그랬을 때 아이들에게 어떻게 질문을 던지고 그 지식으로 다가가게 할 것인가, 그 과정에서 그 지식을 얻는 것 외에도 또 다른 어떤 경험들이 가능하게 할 것인가가 훨씬 더 중요한 관점인 것 같고요. 네, 그런 측면에서 이 3번째 비디오와 5번째 비디오인가에서 네, 지난 시간에 저도 잠깐 말씀드리긴 했었는데 수가타 미트라 교수에 대한 네, 이야기를 하시고 계세요. 네, 그래서 질문이 올라오면 질문에 대해서 조금 답변을 하려고 그랬는데 아직 질문이 없으시니까 그러면 네, 수가타 미트라 교수의 테드 영상을 좀 같이 먼저 보시고 네, 또 뭐 질문 있으시면 네, 질문 올려 주시도록 하겠습니다. 그 수가타 미트라 교수는 인도계고요. 원래는 그 컴퓨터공학이 전공이에요. 네, 그래서 어떻게 하면 컴퓨터를 통해서 인도의 문맹, 교육 제도, 그러니까 인도 같은 경우에는 이 교육 제도가 이렇게 전 국가적으로 다 혜택을 주기에 한계가 좀 있는 상황들이기 때문에 이 교육의 문제들을 어떻게 해결할 수 있을까가 고민이었던 거예요. 그런데 뭐 이따가 테드 보시면 더 자세하게 나오겠지만 그 아이들이 쓰레기 더미 같은 데서 노는 그 공터에다가 컴퓨터를 한 대 갖다 놓고 아무것도 가르치지 않았는데도 이 아이들이 컴퓨터를 가지고 아주 잘 놀게 되더라는 거죠. 일정 시간 뒤에 보니까. 니네 어디서 누가 컴퓨터 가르쳐줬니? 그랬더니 아무도 안 가르쳐줬다는데 도리어 얘네들이 하는 얘기가 근데 이 컴퓨터는 CPU가 너무 낮고 메모리가 작아서 우리가 원하는 게임이 안 돌아간다 이런 얘기를 하더라는 거예요. 그래서 이 양반이 기절초풍 할 뻔했다고 그러면서 같은 실험들을 인도 전역에서 해봤는데 거의 같은 결과들이 있더라는 거예요. 그래서 적절한 정보 접근권이 있을 때 아이들은 스스로 학습하는구나. 그랬을 때 교사의 역할이란 무엇이지? 또 그 안에서 스스로 학습한다고 얘기했을 때 그 학습을 촉진하는 방식들은 어떻게 일어나야 되지? 이렇게 생각을 하면서 이제 그 최근에는 소울이라고 얘기하는데 SOLE예요. 네, 그 self organized SOL learning environment의 약자고요. 그러니까 스스로 조직하는 자기주도적인 학습 환경 이라고 하는데 그 체제를 만들어서 그런 학교들을 그러니까 가르치는 학교가 아니라 아이들에게 질문하는 학교. 네. 그리고 아이들은 그 질문의 답들을 스스로 찾아가는 그런 학교를 지금 지구 곳곳에서 만들고 있습니다. 네, 제가 얘기가 오늘 얘기 조금만 하고 네, 영상을 많이 보자 그래놓고 네, 제 얘기가 길어졌습니다. 죄송합니다. 네.
What is going to be the future of learning? I do have a plan, but in order for me to tell you what that plan is, I need to tell you a little story which kind of sets the stage. I tried to look at where did the kind of learning we do in schools, where did it come from? And you can look far back into the past, but if you look at present-day schooling the way it is, it's quite easy to figure out where it came from. It came from about 300 years ago. And it came from the last and the biggest of the empires on this planet. Imagine trying to run the show, trying to run the entire planet without computers, without telephones, with data handwritten on pieces of paper and traveling by ships. But the Victorians actually did it. What they did was amazing. They created a global computer made up of people. It's still with us today. It's called the bureaucratic administrative machine. In order to have that machine running, you need lots and lots of people. They made another machine to produce those people, the school. The schools would produce the people who would then become parts of the bureaucratic administrative machine. They must be identical to each other. They must know three things. They must have good handwriting, because the data is handwritten. They must be able to read, and they must be able to do multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction in their head. They must be so identical that you could pick one up from New Zealand and ship them to Canada, and he would be instantly functional. The Victorians were great engineers. They engineered a system that was so robust that is still with us today, continuously producing identical people for a machine that no longer exists. The empire's gone. So what are we doing with that design that produces these identical people? And what are we going to do next, if we ever are going to do anything else with it? So that's a pretty strong comment there. I said, schools as we know them now, they're obsolete. I'm not saying they're broken. It's quite fashionable to say that the education system's broken. It's not broken. It's wonderfully constructed. It's just that we don't need it anymore. It's outdated. What's the kind of jobs that we have today? Well, the clerks are the computers. They're there in thousands in every office. And you have people who guide those computers to do their clerical jobs. Those people don't need to be able to write beautifully by hand. They don't need to be able to multiply numbers in their heads. They do need to be able to read. In fact, they need to be able to read discerningly. Well, that's today. But we don't even know what the jobs of the future are going to look like. We know that people will work from wherever they want, whenever they want, in whatever way they want. How is present-day schooling going to prepare them for that world? Well, I bumped into this whole thing completely by accident. I used to teach people how to write computer programs in New Delhi 14 years ago. And right next to where I used to work, there was a slum. And I used to think, how on earth are those kids ever going to learn to write computer programs? Or should they not? At the same time, we also had lots of parents, rich people, who had computers, and who used to tell me, you know, my son, I think he's gifted, because, you know, he does wonderful things with computers. And my daughter, oh, surely she's, you know, extra intelligent, and so on. So I suddenly figured that how come all the rich people are having these extraordinarily gifted children? What did the poor do wrong? I made a hole in the boundary wall of the slum next to my office, and I stuck a computer inside it just to see what would happen if I gave a computer to children who never would have one, didn't know any English, didn't know what the internet was. The children came running in. It was 3 feet off the ground, and they said, "What is this?" And I said, "Yeah, but it's, you know, I don't know." So they said, "Why have you put it there?" I said, "Just like that." And they said, "Can we touch it?" I said, "If you wish to." And I went away. About 8 hours later, we found them browsing and teaching each other how to browse. So I said, "But that's impossible, because, you know, how is it possible? They don't know anything." My colleagues said, "No, it's a simple solution. One of your students must have been passing by, showed them how to use the mouse." So I said, "Yeah, that's possible." So I repeated the experiment. I went 300 miles out of Delhi into a really remote village, where the chances of a passing software development engineer was very little. I repeated the experiment there. There was no place to stay, so I stuck my computer in, I went away, came back after a couple of months, found kids playing games on it. When they saw me, they said, "We want a faster processor and a better mouse." So I said, "How on earth do you know all this?" And they said something very interesting to me. In an irritated voice, they said, "You've given us a machine that works only in English, so we had to teach ourselves English in order to use it." That's the first time as a teacher that I heard the word "teach ourselves" said so casually. Here's a short glimpse from those years. That's the first day at the hole in the wall. On your right is an 8-year-old. To his left is his student. She is 6. And he's teaching her how to browse. Then on to other parts of the country. I repeated this over and over again, getting exactly the same results everywhere. An 8-year-old telling his elder sister what to do. And finally, a girl explaining in Marathi what it is and said, there's a processor inside. So I started publishing. I published everywhere. I wrote down and measured everything. And I said, in 9 months, a group of children left alone with a computer in any language would reach the same standard as an office secretary in the West. I'd seen it happen over and over and over again. But I was curious to know what else would they do if they could do this much. I started experimenting with other subjects. Among them, for example, pronunciation. There's one community of children in southern India whose English pronunciation was really bad. And they needed good pronunciation because that would improve their jobs. I gave them a speech-to-text engine in a computer. And I said, keep talking into it until it types what you say. Okay. They did that and watched a little bit of this.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
The reason I end it with that, the face of this young lady over there is because I suspect many of you know her. She's now joined a call center in Hyderabad and may have tortured you about your credit card bills. in a very clear English accent. So then people said, well, how far will it go? Where does it stop? I decided I would destroy my own argument by creating an absurd proposition. I made a hypothesis, a ridiculous hypothesis. Tamil is a South Indian language, and I said, can Tamil-speaking children in a South Indian village learn the biotechnology of DNA replication in English from a street-side computer? And I said, I'll measure them, they'll get a 0. I'll spend a couple of months, I'll leave it for a couple of months, I'll go back, they'll get another 0. I'll go back to the lab and say, we need teachers. I found a village, it was called Kali Kuppam in southern India. I put in hole-in-the-wall computers there, downloaded all kinds of stuff from the internet about DNA replication, most of which I didn't understand. The children came rushing and said, what's all this? So I said, it's very topical, very important. It's all in English. So they said, how can we understand such big English words and diagrams and chemistry? So by now, I had developed a new pedagogical method, so I applied that. I said, I haven't the foggiest idea. and anyway, I'm going away. So I left them for a couple of months. They'd got a 0. I gave them a test. I came back after 2 months, and the children trooped in and said, we've understood nothing. So I said, well, what did I expect? So I said, okay, but how long did it take you before you decided that you can't understand anything? So they said, we haven't given up. We look at it every single day. So I said, what? You don't understand these screens, and you keep staring at it for 2 months. What for? So a little girl, who you'll see just now, she raised her hand, and she says to me in broken Tamil and English, she said, well, apart from the fact that improper replication of the DNA molecule causes disease, we haven't understood anything else. So I tested them. I got an educational impossibility, 0 to 30% in 2 months in the tropical heat with a computer under the tree in a language that they didn't know, doing something that's a decade ahead of their time. Absurd. But I had to follow the Victorian norm. 30% is a fail. How do I get them to pass? I have to get them 20 more marks. I couldn't find a teacher. What I did find was a friend that they had, a 22-year-old girl who was an accountant, and she played with them all the time. So I asked this girl, can you help them? So she says, absolutely not. I didn't have science in school. I have no idea what they're doing under that tree all day long. I can't help you. I said, I'll tell you what, use the method of the grandmother. So she says, what's that? I said, stand behind them. Whenever they do anything, you just say, well, wow, I mean, how did you do that? What's the next page? Gosh, when I was your age, I could have never done that. I mean, you know what grannies do. So she did that for 2 more months. The scores jumped to 50%. Kalikuppam had caught up with my control school in New Delhi, a rich private school with a trained biotechnology teacher. When I saw that graph, I knew there is a way to level the playing field. Here's Kalikuppam.
Neuron cell death and communication.
I got the camera angle wrong in that one is just amateur stuff, but what she was saying, as you could make out, was about neurons, but her hands were like that, and she was saying neurons communicate at 12. So what are jobs going to be like? Well, we know what they're like today. What's learning going to be like? We know what it's like today, children poring over with their mobile phones on the one hand, and then reluctantly going to school to pick up their books with the other hand. What will it be tomorrow? Could it be that we don't need to go to school at all? Could it be that at the point in time when you need to know something, you can find out in 2 minutes? Could it be a devastating question, a question that was framed for me by Nicholas Negroponte? Could it be that we are heading towards, or maybe in, a future when knowing is obsolete? But that's terrible. We are Homo sapiens. Knowing, that's what distinguishes us from the apes. But look at it this way. It took nature 100 million years to make the ape stand up and become Homo sapiens. It took us only 10,000 to make knowing obsolete. What an achievement that is. But we have to integrate that into our own future. Encouragement seems to be the key. If you look at Kuppam, if you look at all of the experiments that I did, it was simply saying, wow, saluting learning. There is evidence from neuroscience. The reptilian part of our brain, which sits in the center of our brain, when it's threatened, it shuts down everything else. It shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the parts which learn. It shuts all of that down. Punishment and examinations are seen as threats. We take our children, we make them shut their brains down, and then we say, perform. Why did they create a system like that? Because it was needed. There was an age, in the age of empires, when you needed those people who can survive under threat. When you're standing in a trench all alone, if you could have survived, you're okay, you passed. If you didn't, you failed. But the age of empires is gone. What happens to creativity in our age? We need to shift that balance back from threat to pleasure. I came back to England looking for British grandmothers. I put out notices in papers saying, if you're a British grandmother, if you have broadband and a web camera, can you give me 1 hour of your time per week for free? I got 200 in the first 2 weeks. I know more British grandmothers than anyone in the universe. They're called the granny cloud. The granny cloud sits on the internet. If there's a child in trouble, we beam a gran. She goes on over Skype and she sorts things out. I've seen them do it from a village called Diggles in northwestern England, deep inside a village in Tamil Nadu, India, 6,000 miles away. She does it with only one age-old gesture. Okay. Watch this.
You can't catch me. You say it. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. Well done. Very good.
So what's happening here? I think what we need to look at is we need to look at learning as the product of educational self-organization. If you allow the educational process to self-organize, then learning emerges. It's not about making learning happen, it's about letting it happen. The teacher sets the process in motion, and then she stands back in awe and watches as learning happens. I think that's what all this is pointing at. But how will we know? How will we come to know? Well, I intend to build these self-organized learning environments. They are basically broadband, collaboration, and encouragement put together. I've tried this in many, many schools. That's being tried all over the world, and teachers sort of stand back and say, it just happens by itself? And I said, yeah, it happens by itself. How did you know that? And I said, you won't believe the children who told me and where they're from. Here's a soul in action. This one is in England. He maintains law and order. Because remember, there's no teacher around. Australia.
Giving it a net positive or negative electrical charge. The net charge on an ion is equal to the number of protons in the ion minus the number of electrons.
A decade ahead of our time. So souls, I think we need a curriculum of big questions. You already heard about that. You know what that means. There was a time when Stone Age men and women used to sit and look up at the sky and say, what are those twinkling lights? They built the first curriculum. But we've lost sight of that wondrous questions. We've brought it down to the tangent of an angle. But that's not sexy enough. The way you would put it to a 9-year-old is to say, if a meteorite was coming to hit the Earth, how would you figure out if it was going to or not? And if he says, well, what? How? You say there's a magic word. It's called the tangent of an angle. And leave him alone. He'll figure it out. So here are a couple of images from souls. I've tried incredible questions. When did the world begin? How will it end? To 9-year-olds. This one's about what happens to the air we breathe. This is done by children without the help of any teacher. The teacher only raises the question and then stands back and admires the answer. So, what's my wish? My wish is that we design the future of learning. We don't want to be spare parts for a great human computer, do we? So we need to design a future for learning. And I've got to get this wording exactly right, because, it's very important. My wish is to help design a future of learning by supporting children all over the world to tap into their wonder and their ability to work together. Help me build this school. It will be called the School in the Cloud. It will be a school where children go on these intellectual adventures driven by the big questions which their mediators put in. The way I want to do this is to build a facility where I can study this. It's a facility which is practically unmanned. There's only one granny who manages health and safety. The rest of it's from the cloud. The lights are turned on and off by the cloud, etc., etc. Everything's done from the cloud. But I want you for another purpose. You can do self-organized learning environments at home, in the school, outside of school, in clubs. It's very easy to do. There's a great document produced by TED which tells you how to do it. If you would please do it across all 5 continents and send me the data, then I'll put it all together, move it into the School of Clouds, and create the future of learning. That's my wish. And just one last thing, I'll take you to the top of the Himalayas. At 12,000 feet, where the air is thin, I once built 2 hole-in-the-wall computers. And the children flocked there. There was this little girl who was following me around. And I said to her, I want to give a computer to everybody. every child. I don't know, what should I do? And I was trying to take a picture of her, quietly. She suddenly raised her hand like this and said to me, "Get on with it." I think it was good advice. I'll follow her advice. I'll stop talking. Thank you. Thank you very much.
네. 네, 자막이 잘 안 보이셨나요? 네, 제가 테드 강연 주소를 나중에 공유해 드릴 테니까 그걸로 다시 한번 보시고 싶으신 분들은 보시면 좋겠어요. 이 야코펙트 선생님 강연을 하게 된 게 작년에 이제 교육부에서 그 교원대에서 이제 큰 교육 컨퍼런스를 국제 행사를 개최하면서 저한테 이제 그 폐막작 강연자로 좀 섭외를 해달라고 부탁을 해서 야코펙트 선생님이 그 폐막 강연을 하시게 됐던 거예요. 그 기회로 이렇게 지금 뭐 경기도교육청, 충북교육청, 전북교육청 뭐 여러 군데서 이 연수가 기획이 됐어요. 만약에 저한테 교육부에서 또 그런 국제 행사를 하는데 누군가를 좀 모셔와 달라고 하면 저는 이 수가타 미트라 교수를 좀 모시고 오고 싶어요. 제가 한 2번 정도 이분의 강연을 직접 들을 기회가 있었는데 일단 굉장히 유머러스하고요. 너무 재밌었어요, 강연 자체가. 그리고 메시지가 아주 분명하더라고요. 그 메시지가 그러니까 과연 미래의 학교라는 게 어떻게 만들어져야 할까라고 하는 것. 교사는 어떤 사람이어야 할까, 특히. 아까 영상에서도 나오지만 질문하는 사람이고 뒤로 물러서서 칭찬하는 사람, 격려하는 사람, 인 거죠. 그래서 이제 가장 좋은 교사가 할머니다. 이 영국 할머니들이 야, 난 너만 할 때 그런 거 몰랐는데 어떻게 그런 걸 다 잘하니? 뭐 이런 그런 얘기만 하는 건 거죠. 저도 비슷한 경험을 해서 제 강의할 때 그 얘기를 굉장히 많이 하는데 제 친구가 서핑 강사예요. 파도 타는 서핑. 한번 놀러 오라고 그래서 갔습니다. 근데 널빤지 한 장을 주더니 바닷속으로 들어가자는 거예요. 너무 무섭더라고요. 근데 어쨌든 따라 들어갔어요. 죽을 것 같더라고요. 일단 헤엄을 쳐도 이 바다 안으로 들어가야 되니까 헤엄을 쳐도 이 파도가 계속 나를 밀어내니까 이렇게 가지지도 않고 조그만 파도가 세면 이렇게 휘떡 뒤집어지고. 근데 뭐 친구놈이 좀 이렇게 잡아라도 줬으면 좋겠는데 지는 이렇게 바다 위에 딱 그 널빤지 위에 걸터 앉아가지고 아주 무슨 서커스 하는 놈처럼 균형을 잡고 앉아가지고는 저를 보고 계속 괜찮아 괜찮기는 개뿔. 나는 짠물을 얼마나 먹었는데 안 괜찮은데 계속 괜찮다고 하는 거예요. 그러면서 이제 이 친구가 계속 해주는 건 뭐냐면 제가 중간에 포기하고 물 밖으로 나가지 않도록 계속 격려하는 거죠. 결국은 그 파도를 몸으로 겪어내야 되는 건 저고, 그건 대신 누가 해주거나 뭐 가르쳐 준다고 파도 타는 법을 익힐 수 있거나 이론 공부를 막 열심히 한다고 되거나 이런 게 아닌 건 거예요. 네. 그런 의미에서 이게 그 소울이라고 하는 것 역시, 그러니까 지금 이 영상에서는 나오지 않았는데 제가 예전에 들었었던 강연 때는 그 얘기도 했어요. 이제 인도에서 이 실험을 한 거잖아요. 컴퓨터 인 더 홀이라고 하는 실험들을. 네, 그걸 하고 나서 이 양반이 이제 영국의 대학에서, 아니 저기 뭐야, 그 영국의 자기가 있던 지역에서, 네, 학교에서 실험을 한 거예요. 그래서 교실이 이렇게 사각형으로 있으면 각 교실의 벽마다 컴퓨터들을 박아놓고 한 컴퓨터에는 이렇게 약간 반달 모양으로 컴퓨터를 둘러싸는 벤치를 박아놨어요. 왜 박냐 하면 이걸 가지고 딴 데 못 가게. 그러면 그 벤치에 한 5명 정도가 앉을 수 있어요. 그리고 선생님, 그러니까 이제 벽에 컴퓨터들이 있으니까 애들은 다 교실 벽을 보고 있고 선생님을 등지고 있는 상황이죠. 선생님은 그 교실 가운데 서서 뭘 하냐면 질문을 던지는 거예요. 근데 그 질문의 수준이 유치원 수준의 질문에서부터 대학원 석사 수준의 질문, 어떤 분야든, 네, 질문을 던지면 중학교 1학년 아이들이 반나절 안에 그 질문의 수준에 맞는 대답들을, 유치원 수준의 질문이면 유치원 수준의 답변, 대학원 석사 수준의 질문이면 대학원 석사 수준의 답변을 반나절 안에 찾아내더라는 거예요. 그런데 왜 이걸 박아놨냐면 이 5명이서 컴퓨터 하나를 쓰잖아요. 그러니까 한 놈이 독점을 할 수가 없는 거예요. 니들은 다 나가, 나 혼자 할래. 이게 안 되는 거죠. 서로 계속 중간에서 상호작용이 아까 거기 뭐 있었어. 걸로 다시 가봐. 야, 이거랑 하면 뭐 어떻게 되지 않겠어? 이게 상호작용이 계속 일어나는 환경을 만들어 놓는 거죠. 그리고 선생님은 뒤에 서서 처음에 질문 던지고 그 다음에는 계속 격려하는 거예요. 애들이 중간에 포기하지 않도록 계속 격려하는 거예요. 우와, 그걸 찾았어? 우와, 나도 모르는 건데. 예, 뭐 이런 이야기들을 계속 하는 건 거죠. 네. 그리고 나면 아까 말씀드린 대로 반나절 안에 아이들이 그 질문의 수준에 맞는 답변들을 찾아내더라는 거예요. 그러면 그 다음 질문들을 하게 되는 거죠. 이제 그 실험을 하고 나서 그 아까 할머니 실험을 하게 된 건 거예요. 그러니까 수가타 미트라 교수의 메시지는 분명한 것 같아요. 그러니까 미래의 모든 지식들은, 미래가 아니라 이미 그렇잖아요. 모든 지식들은 이미 이 클라우드에 저장되어 있어요. 그걸 문제는 저장되어 있으니까 배울 필요가 없다가 아니라 우리로 하여금 어떻게 그것을 스스로 찾아가면서 평생 동안, 아이들뿐만 아니라 우리가 평생학습의 시대에 평생 동안 그것들을 찾아가면서 학습할 수 있는 인간으로 길러낼 것인가의 문제인 건 거죠. 그랬을 때 좋은 질문을 던지는 교사, 격려하는 교사, 그 다음을 만들어주는 조장자로서의, 코디네이터로서의 교사. 그게 중요하다는 이야기. 그걸 이제 아예 학교 체제로 가지고 들어온 게 이 소울이라고 하는 학교예요. 그래서 지금 전 세계에서 소울 방식으로 학습하는 미래형 학교들이 만들어지고 있어요. 네. 네, 저는 의미가 좀 있지 않을까 하는 생각이 들어요. 이거 시간이 없어서. 네, 제가 한 10년 전 얘긴데요, 벌써 우리나라의 대안대학을 만들자고, 아무리 대안학교에서 애들을 다르게 키워도 다 결국은 이 대한민국은 대학 입시가 다 빨아들이니까. 근데 대학을 나온다고 뭐 제대로 이 삶이 만들어지는 것도 아니고 이러니까 4천만 원 갖다 주고 종이 쪼가리 하나 받는 실업자들인 건데, 그러지 말고 다른 방식으로 청년들이 자기 삶들을 좀 개척할 수 있으면 좋겠다, 이런 생각이 들어서 이제 유럽에 있는 데부터 시작해갖고 북미, 아시아 뭐 이렇게 제가 그 대한대학이라고 불리는, 어쨌든 대안적인 방식으로 청년들이 자기 삶들을 만드는 그런 곳들을 찾아다니기 시작했었어요. 그래서 이제 거기를 탐방기를 한 학교씩, 그 민들레라는 교육 잡지 아시나요? 네. 그 민들레에다가 연재를 했었어요. 그래서 7회까지인가 제가 연재를 하다가 너무 바빠갖고 취재해놓은 자료만 잔뜩 있는데 그 뒤에 연재를 이어가지를 못했는데, 언젠가는 그걸 다 마저 연재를 하든 쓰든 해서 이 세계에 대한 대학이라는 책을 내는 게 제 다음 과제 중에 하나이기도 해요. 그런데 그 중에 한 곳이 어떤 곳이었냐면, 그 아프리카나 아시아의 난민들을 구호하는 활동가를 기르는 학교였어요. 그런데 그 학교는 등록금이 무료예요. 2년제 학교인데 1년 동안은 활동가가 되는 기본 훈련을 받고요. 나머지 1년 동안은 현장에 가서 실습을 하는 거예요. 그런데 1년 차 때도 등록금을 안 받고요. 1년 차 때 등록금을 안 받는 대신에 2년 차 때 활동비를 자기가 벌어야 돼요. 그런데 그 버는 방식이 뭐냐면, 예를 들면 그 학교가 영국에 있는 학교였었는데, 그 영국의 대도시 뭐 런던 같은 데 가가지고 왜 우리도 이렇게 도시의 길에 다니다 보면 번화가에 이렇게 뭐라 그러죠? 이렇게 서명하고 이렇게 그 기부금 내라는 그런 그 시민단 NGO 단체의 모금 활동가들이 길에 막 있잖아요. 그걸 하는 거예요. 내가 아프리카에 가서 1년 동안 살 건데, 거기 난민들 구호하는 일을 하면서 살 건데, 그걸 왜 네가 나한테 기부금을 줘야 되는지, 그걸 네가 왜 나를 후원해야 되는지를 설명해야 되는 거예요. 근데 이 학교가 우리나라 대학생들한테 어떻게 소문이 났냐면, 공짜로 어학연수 시켜주고, 아프리카든 아시아든 1년 동안 보내주는 학교라고 소문이 났어요. 그래서 제가 이 학교, 그런데 이제 가보니까 1년 동안 앵벌이를 시키는 거예요. 돈통을 들려가지고. 그러니까 한국 애들이 가가지고 완전 기겁을 한 건 거죠. 영어도 못하는데 돈통을 들고 이 대도시 길거리에서 국어를 해야 되는 상황이니까. 거기다가 학교는 지금 생각해보면 이게 소울 방식이었던 거예요. 아프리카에 가서 어떻게 살아야 되는지에 대해서 아무것도 안 가르쳐줘요. 그리고 선생님들이 과제만 내줘요. 에이즈 걸린 사람들과는 어떻게 만나야 될까? 그런데 그 학교 그 네트워크에 들어가면 그것과 관련된 자료들이 다 있어요. 그래서 선생님은 질문만 하는 거예요. 네가 아프리카에 가면 당장 에이즈 걸린 사람들하고 만나게 될 텐데, 그 사람들이랑 만났을 때 네가 조심해야 되는 건 뭐고, 그 사람들을 도울 방법은 뭘까? 다음 주까지 준비해서 얘기해봐. 이렇게 얘기하는 거예요. 그러니까 한국 애들이 가르쳐주는 건 하나도 없어. 수업도 없어. 아무것도 안 가르쳐줘. 그러고는 시키는 건 맨날 돈통 빌려서 앵벌이를 시켜. 그래가지고 제가 그 학교를 탐방하려고 막 인터넷으로 뒤졌더니, 그때는 다음 카페가 한참 유행일 때였어요. 다음 카페에 그 학교 안티 카페가 열려 있더라고요. 절대 가지 마라. 그래서 이게 왜 이런가? 제가 가보기 전이었으니까 도대체 얘네들이 왜 안티카페를 만들었나? 온갖 욕설들이 가득 차 있더라고요. 가보니까 그런 거였었어요. 그러니까 늘 주는 대로 받아먹기만 하던 애들, 거기다가 이제 공짜로 갈 수 있다는 거에 눈발 같던 아이들에게 그 배신감이 얼마나 컸을지, 네, 그러니까 이해가 되더라고요. 가보니까 이해가 되더라고요. 그런데 사실은 네, 그런 고민들인 건 거죠. 왜 이 서양 아이들은 그 학교에 와서 정말 굉장히 재밌고 즐겁게 학교 생활을 하는데 우리나라 아이들은 가르쳐주는 게 없고 앵벌이를 시킨다고 안티카페를 만드는 걸까? 이건 이 친구들이 자라온 어떤 교육 환경의 문제 아닐까? 이런 문제의식이 저한테는 좀 생겼던 것 같아요. 네, 오늘 제가 얘기를 많이 안 하기로 했었는데, 네, 얘기하다 보니까, 네, 그 천선진 선생님이 자막이 안 보인다고 영상 끝난 뒤에 설명해달라 그러는 바람에 얘기가 길어졌습니다. 네.
죄송합니다.
아니 뭐, 네, 선생님이 죄송한 일은 아니고, 네, 네, 자, 손정희 선생님이 우리나라도 그런 학교가 있냐는 건. 그런 학교가 어떤 학교죠? 소울 방식으로 하는 학교인가요? 아니면 그 제가 조금 전에 말씀드렸던 그 활동가 기르는 학교 말씀이신 건가요? 손정희 선생님 없어지셨다. 소울 방식이요? 네. 우리나라에서 아직 소울 방식을 적용한 학교가 있다는 얘기는 못 들어봤어요. 네. 근데 뭐 방법론적으로는 비슷한 방식을 취하는 선생님들이 있지 않으실까요? 네, 그런 생각은 들고, 네네. 지금 뭐 전 세계에서 그 우리 뒤에 다음 시간인가 다다음 시간인가에 그 야코펙트 선생님이 또 그 패널 토론을 그 주재하시는데. 그때 스페인 소울 학교 만드는 선생님이 나와서 또 이야기 하실 거예요. 그래서 그때 조금 더 네, 이야기 들으실 수 있을 것 같고요. 네, 우리나라 소울은 손정희 선생님이 만드시는 걸로 네, 기대하고 있겠습니다. 네. 자, 그러면 다음 비디오, 네, 수가타 미트라 교수 영상에 이어서 네, 이야기 될 만한 세 번째 비디오를 같이 시청하시도록 하겠습니다.
Hello everyone, my name is Yaakov Echt, and we are in chapter number 3 of democratic learning. Last time we talked about Classroom 2.0, that as you remember, it's a classroom that everyone is a teacher and everyone is a student. And the idea was how we build a learning process that moves from a pyramid way of teaching to a network, and how we move from a small box of content to learn content that exists in the cloud. So the big question is how we're moving from teaching-based school to a learning-based school, and we have to do it, we can do it with a lot of tools, and the different democratic schools all over the world do it with a lot of different tools. I will give some of them in this chapter. Very important things that we are doing in democratic education is a flipped classroom. What's the idea of flipped classroom? In traditional classroom, children go to hear the lessons of the teacher and make the homework and activities at home. In flipped classroom, it's totally different. At home, the children look in the computer and see the lecture. And when they come to the classroom, the face-to-face meeting, they begin to be activities and teach one another. This is very, very important to what we can do today in the coronavirus time. we can make all the lecture. It's better in the Zoom or in other video conferencing. And when we are coming face to face, we can make activities, we can feel one another, we can walk with one another. And so this is the flipped classroom. A lot of time in the flipped classroom, I can send the video of YouTube or from other place to the children. They look on the video and then we do the activities at school. Or I can record myself like I do it for now with you. And I will send my video to you, and then immediately you can ask me questions and we can do different activities about what I talk. So this is the idea of the flipped classroom. Something that connects to the flipped classroom is Khan Academy. Khan Academy, I will send you now a video that you can see the basic of Khan Academy, how Salman Khan began his ideas. It's a very great story that he began to record lessons of mathematics, and then step by step they have more and more lessons that was connected to a site in the internet that called Khan Academy. And today, I think billion of students from all over the world learn from this site of Khan Academy. I see the question why Khan Academy works, or why it's work in the field of democratic education. I will say that the option that Khan Academy give us is that students can learn everything, anything that they want. And this is very powerful. They can go to the site and decide what they want to learn. They also can learn what they want to focusing. They don't have the traditional way of learning. They can decide what they want to learn and how they want to learn and with whom they want to, who will help them. It's also help us as a teacher, because the student can come to Khan Academy, they can choose what they want to learn, and we can see where every student go to learn, how they teach, how they help one another, and what problem they focusing. And then I can make a meeting, a personal meeting with my student, and make much more, give solution to him. Another very, very important things that Khan Academy suggests is a learning that it's free without paying money around a lot of subjects. So it can be a process that everyone can learn, also if you come from a poor family. Something very interesting happened with Salman Khan, because he begins with the online learning, and 2 or 3 years ago he decided to build a real school that he calls it Khan Lab School, and it's this Khan Lab School work very similar to what we are talking about democratic education. The children living there with a mixed ages group, they decide what they want to learn, how they want to learn, and the basic on all the school that every student is a teacher, and he calls it a community of learners. And I think it's one of the best schools. I also send you a video that you can focusing and see different things that happened in Khan Lab School. Another way of learning, it's built in, and a lot of democratic school use, is the Sugata Mitra approach to education. And I think a lot of people know Sugata Mitra because he built the kiosk in the street of Delhi, and in this kiosk he put computer, and then he checked that when children walk freely with the computer, they have very good results. And I will send you also a video about this approach of Sugata Mitra. It's called the All in the Wall. Today, he do it in a lot of different schools, not on the streets, that he gives students to work on in a program that he call it SOUL, self-learning. SOUL, it's self-organized learning. And in the SOUL, they have 3 parts. The first part, it's a short part that they focusing about founding a big question. Big question from the point of view of Sugata Mitra. It's a question that have no answer, one answer in the Google. So you cannot open Google and find the answer. I will give you an example. What will be the end of the coronavirus? No one knows. It's a good question. A lot of how the world was beginning. What was in the world before this is another question. So what will be after the coronavirus, or how we solve the coronavirus? That can be a big question. And then he give them around 40 minutes to try to look for an answer in the internet. He opened a computer, he put around the computer a group of 5 students, and they together looking for solution to the big question. And then in the end, they share one another the results. And this is very, very fascinating, because it means that we can learn everything. It's not limited by the knowledge of the teacher. Most of what we are learning is limited by the knowledge of the teacher. What Sugata Mitra done is saying we can learn everything that is interesting you. Sugata Mitra is a very big fan of the democratic education, and here is visiting me in Hadera Democratic School, and he was talking a lot in the IDEX, and I will send you now also a video of Sugata Mitra that is idea about the future of education. So not only Sugata Mitra is talking about the big question, I think we have a lot of today systems of learning, not about content and subject, learning about challenges. And one of the big things that we are doing today in the world, that we have the goal of the United Nations, that we want to solve until 2030. We have 70 goals, and a lot of learning go around these 70 goals. And a lot, we can see in a lot of democratic education, as you remember, as I say, that one of the major things of democratic education is keeping the human rights. So we use a lot the idea of the 70 goals to find solution of the real problem of the world. For example, we use a lot this organization that called the Goal Project, that connect between different classes around the world that dealing with the 70 goals. We used to this a lot with the design thinking. It's a method that began in this school in Stanford. And the idea that we go in these 5 steps. The first step is empathies. So if we believe that one of the challenges of the world is poverty, and the empathies is to know more about poverties, to make close connection with people that doesn't have money. and to understand them and to think what we can do to help them. And then we have the second step is define what I can do to help these people in the poverty, and then bring ideas, and then build a prototype, and then test the prototypes. This is the 5 steps of design thinking that we are doing in dealing with challenges. When we build a prototype, we need a makerspace. So in a lot of democratic schools, we have a makerspace. Makerspace, it's look like this. It's a place that people do things by their hands. They have there a lot. So learning is not only about theoretical. We need to do things together. And this is picture from the field of makerspace. Another very good friend of us is Kiran Sati, that ran the school of Riverside in India. And Kiran Sati built a school that everything in the school is around finding solution to challenges around the school and in the world at all. So she lived in a school in a city in India, and the children, the major things that they are doing, they solve problem of the area. She worked with the municipalities, and they help her to decide what the challenge that she want to work, and then all the students there in her school work about this. Kiran Sati, she's not only working about the challenges around her school, she also works with the global goals, and and she built now a huge movement all around the world. They call it design of change, and millions of students from all over the world, maybe also in Korea, working with these challenges of Kiran Sati. So to the end of this chapter, I want to say, to work in a class, in a democratic learning process, or in Classroom 2.0, we have a lot of tools. Some of them I talk shortly in this chapter. I'm sure that you know much more tools around this, and I will glad that you will share with me some new ideas about how we can do the moving from a pyramid to a network, and from the box to all the cloud knowledge. So in this, this is something very, very important, because see, for example, if we say that learning-based school, it will be in the green color, and teaching-based school, it's in the red color. So when we look about the timetable of school, we can put the different color and say, oh, this is the courses, this is the lessons that was focusing about teaching-based school, and this will be about, the red one will be about teaching-based school, the green one will be about learning-based school, and I think in most of the democratic school, we can mix between them, or in some schools, we can find in the morning working with the teachers, in the end of the day, and in the middle of the day, it's learning-based school. So it was a short time about learning-based school and teaching-based school. We will meet again in chapter number 4 of democratic learning. Bye-bye.
네, 고경석 선생님이 지난번 패널로 나왔던 네, 김다은 학생이 그런 대학 아니냐고 물으셨는데, 다은이는 그 제천간대학교를 졸업했고요. 그리고 나서는 한동안 저하고 같이 아까 제가 말씀드렸던 우리나라의 대한대학을 만들자라고 해서 저하고 같이 그 대학 만드는 일을 같이 좀 했었어요. 그때 이제 저희가 만든 대학이 지구마을 청년대학이라고 하는 거였는데, 네. 그러니까 지구적으로 사고하고 마을에서 실행하는 네, 청년을 기르는 대학이다. 뭐 이런 네, 이름이었고 그러다가 이제 제가 그때는 제가 이제 서울에 시간 강사로 있을 때였었는데 네, 그 활동을 같이 하다가 그 친구는 영국으로 난민 구호와 관련된 공부를 좀 하고 싶어서 난민이라 그 아까 제가 말씀드렸던 학교 생각하셨구나. 네. 거기는 난민 구호하는 활동가를 기르는 학교고요. 다은이가 다닌 곳은 런던 대학에서 네. 학부 때는 국제법을 이 친구는 뭐 이미 그 고등학교 때부터 간디학교 다닐 때부터 계속 그 난민구호와 관련된 활동들을 해왔어 가지고 네 그런데 이제 활동을 하다 보니까 법을 모르면 이 사람들을 제대로 도와줄 수가 없다는 깨달음이 이 친구한테 좀 있었던 거예요. 근데 이제 마침 제가 런던 대학에서 공부하면서 저희 학교에 국제법을 하는 그 과가 있었는데 거기에 그 난민 활동가들이 많이 다니는 걸 제가 본 적이 있어요. 그래서 그 얘기를 해줬더니 자기 거기 가서 공부해보고 싶다고 그래가지고 이제 제가 추천서를 써줬었고 그래서 이제 그 런던 대학에서 국제법 전공으로 학부를 했고요. 그리고 지금은 그 난민법으로 대학원 과정이 있는 건 옥스포드밖에 없대요. 네, 그래서 옥스포드 대학에서 난민법으로 석사를 네, 첫 학기 지금 9월부터 시작했습니다. 네, 그래서 아까 말씀드렸던 그 대한대학하고는 조금 다르기는 한데, 네, 뭐 삶의 여정은 좀 비슷한 측면이 있죠. 네, 자, 조금 전에 아까 손정희 선생님이 우리나라에 소울 방식의 학교가 있느냐라고 물으셨는데 소울을 딱 표방하는 학교는 제가 본 적은 없지만 요즘 우리나라 공교육에서도 챌린지 베이스드 러닝이라고 네, 과제 기반 학습이라고 하나요? 도전 기반 학습이라고 하나요? 네. 에 대해서는 꽤 많이 이야기들이 되고 있는 것 같아요. 특히 그 사람 이름이 제가 잘 기억이 안 나는데 애플의 무슨 기술 고문이었나 하던 그 사람이 쓴 교실이 없는 시대가 온다라는 책. 챌린지 베이스드 러닝에 대해서 문제 제기하는 그런 책이라서 그 책이 우리나라에서도 꽤 호응을 받았던 걸로 알고 있고 아마 그런 수업들을 도입해 보겠다고 하는 여러 가지 시도들이 좀 있지 않는가 하는 생각이 들었고요. 그다음에 아까 제가 말씀드렸던 제가 유럽과 북미와 아시아의 대한대학들 탐방하면서 탐방기 썼었다고 얘기했잖아요. 그때 제가 탐방했던 곳 중에 하나가 스탠포드 대학에서 만든 D스쿨이었었어요. 네, 디자인 띵킹으로 사회적 문제들을 과제로 실제 학습하는 학교. 네, 굉장히 인상적이었었어요. 네, 거기에 대한 저기는 못 썼는데, 네. 탐방기는 아직 못 썼는데 언젠가 쓸 날이 오기를 바라면서 자 그러면 고경섭 선생님 인터넷이 끊겨서 본의 아니게 나갔다 들어오셨대요. 네. 질문하신 거 제가 답변 드리고 못 들으신 거 아닌가요? 아이고 저런. 네. 네. 나중에 따로. 네. 자, 그러면 네. 다음 비디오를 계속 이어서 좀 보도록 하겠습니다.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yaakov Echt, and we are in chapter number 4 of democratic learning. And in this chapter, we will focusing about the space. How it's look, the classroom in democratic learning. Let's begin with the traditional classroom. This is traditional classroom. The teacher stand here and he talk to the children that sitting and look on him. But if the teacher will think that these children is not need to be the same and they have different color, why would they need to sit like this? We can give them, for example, sitting in a circle. But if a circle, why we need one whiteboard? Let's put whiteboard all over the classroom. Why we need classroom all over the classroom? Because we are different and then we can teach one another. So this is the major things of moving from a classroom, traditional classroom, to a for a democratic learning classroom. In this classroom, for example, it can look like this. You see here, as a teacher, a student that teach one another mathematics. Or they can sit in a table in a small whiteboard and they can teach one another. That's the idea of democratic education. You are not sitting and learning by someone that teach all of the people again and again. We want that everyone will be a student and everyone will be a teacher. We want to see a learning community. In this case, we can see from time to time a teacher that teach student, but not only, and not for hours. We can do it 5 minutes here and then go to other activities. So this is, for example, an elementary school classroom that you can see the teacher sit here and with 2 students and the other student in all over the elementary school, or here it's another teacher. Or this is very interesting school, also elementary school, and I take 2 of my friends from China to visit the school, and you can see that the student cannot see it's not interesting them that it's other people get to their classroom, because when they are learning in groups, they are very, very inside. What we call, it's happened to them a flow. They lose to know the place and the time. They are focusing about the learning. This is the people from China go back to China and build this school in China. Or you can see here, you can see, I think the democratic school, the major thing that happened, that the children learning to be independent learners. And not only individual, they learn how to do it social, how to work social independently. And this is something very, very, very important. How to help your friend and how to work as a group. So the major idea of what we are doing in democratic education is building the school that it's look like a co-working space. It's very similar to the future of the working space at all. So thank you, and this is a short view about architects design of how it's need to look a democratic learning classroom. Thank you.
네, 경기도교육청 쪽의 연수는 한 달에 한 번씩 하거든요. 이번 달이 이 6회차예요. 근데 이번 달에 다음 주 화요일인데, 네, 이번 달에 하게 될 주제가 어떻게 공교육이 이 민주교육의 시스템을 받아들여서 민주학교로 좀 변화할 수 있을 것인가와 관련된 거거든요. 근데 그거 지금 이제 야코펙트 선생님이랑 그 워크숍을 어떻게 조직할 것인지 의논하고 있는 중인데, 그 야코펙트 선생님이 소개해 주고 싶은 이스라엘의 사례 중에 하나가 예루살렘이거든요. 뭐 아시는 분들은 아시겠지만 예루살렘이 이스라엘에서는 가장 중요한 도시인데 얼마 전까지 수도가 아니었었어요. 그 수도는 텔아비브였죠. 왜냐하면 이 예루살렘이 이슬람 사람들에게도 성지고, 그래서 그 전통적으로 그 이스라엘 건국 이전부터, 그러니까 현대 이스라엘 건국 전부터 이 예루살렘이 이미 이슬람 사람들에 의해서 거의 뭐 이스라엘 사람들 표현으로는 점령당하다시피 되어 있었기 때문에 거기를 수도로 만드는 순간 이 이슬람의 반발이 너무 심하기 때문에 이스라엘 건국만으로도 사실 굉장히 무리수였었잖아요. 뭐 영국이나 미국이나 프랑스 같은 나라들의 지원이 없으면 만들어지기도 좀 어려웠던 상황이었어가지고 그래서 그 예루살렘을 수도로 못 삼고 있다가 몇 년 전에 과감하게 질렀죠. 그리고 그게 그래서 이제 텔아비브에서 이스라엘로 수도를 옮겼는데 국제사회에선 공인이 안 되고 있었는데 얼마 전에 트럼프 정부가 미국 대사관을 텔아비브에서 예루살렘으로 옮기면서 되게 다시 한번 그게 화제가 됐었던 거를 보셨을 것 같아요, 뉴스에서. 그래서 지금 이제 이스라엘 그 교육부가 예루살렘 시 정부가 교육개혁을 가지고, 왜냐하면 여기에는 그 전통적인 이슬람 사람들도 굉장히 많이 살고 있고 이 유대인들도 많이 들어와 있고 또 오래된 도시이기 때문에 도시 빈민들도 되게 많고 또 이렇게 외곽에는 돈 많은 빈부격차도 굉장히 심하고 여러 가지 문제들을 굉장히 많이 안고 있는 도시라서 여기를 이제 교육혁신을 하겠다고 하면서 이 야코펙트 선생님을 고문으로 해서 이 민주교육의 방식들을 도입해가지고 이 시 전체의 교육 체제를 바꾸는 그 작업을 하고 있는데, 그 중에 이제 이번에 소개하고 싶다고 한 곳 중에 하나가 입차라는 곳인데, 저도 작년에 처음 가봤었는데, 그러니까 일종의 뭐랄까 체험센터, 민주교육 체험센터라고 할까요? 그래서 그러니까 전통적인 학교에 있는 선생님들이 우리 반 아이들을 데리고 일주일에 한 번씩 거기에 가는 거예요. 그래서 거기는 완전히 아까 이렇게 교실 환경 자체가 이렇게 벽 사면마다 막 작은 칠판들 쫙 있어갖고 그렇게 선생님이 아이들과 민주적인 방식으로 학습할 수 있는 환경을 아예 만들어 놓고 거기에 지원 활동가 뭐 코치 뭐라고 불러도 좋은데 네, 그 사람과 이제 교사가 우리 반 아이들을 데리고 와서 아이들도 민주교육을 경험하고 선생님도 민주교육을 같이 경험하는 거죠. 그걸 이제 한 학기 동안 일주일에 한 번씩 하도록 만들어 놓은 센터예요. 그 예루살렘 시에서 그래서 그 요번 달에 거기에 대해서 소개하는 영상을 만들기로 했으니까 아마 그 우리 충북 선생님들도 뒷부분에 가서 조금 같이 보실 수 있지 않을까 싶고 그런 환경들이 이 공간적인 상상력 왜 교실은 모두 다 똑같아야 하는가? 기껏해야 우리는 이렇게 모둠 해놓고 뭐 아니면 둥글게 앉게 해놓고 여전히 이렇게 교사 중심의 수업을 하고 있고 이렇게 공간적인 상상력과 이 컨텐츠의 상상력이 같이 결합이 잘 안 되는 지점들에 대해서 저는 그래서 제일 중요한 건 상상력 이라고 생각하고 상상력을 발휘하려면 많이 봐야 된다. 제가 맨날 하는 얘긴데 야 너는 아는 게 많아서 먹고 싶은 것도 많겠다. 뭐 이런 농담 하잖아요. 네. 근데 그게 진짜 맞는 얘기거든요. 그렇잖아요. 무슨 베트남 음식 한 번도 안 먹어본 사람이 나는 쌀국수가 먹고 싶어 이렇게 상상할 수 있겠어요? 이게 경험해보지 않으면 욕구도 안 생기죠. 그냥 뭐 먹고 싶어 그러면 뭐 밥이나 주세요. 뭐 이렇게 얘기하겠지. 뭐 이탈리안 무슨 음식이 먹고 싶어요. 한 번도 들어본 적도 먹어본 적도 없는 사람이 그런 상상을 하겠는데, 그러니까 많이 알아야 먹고 싶은 것도 많이 생기는 거. 저는 이게 농담처럼 할 얘기가 아니라 진짜 진리라고 생각하고 그런 의미에서 우리가 많이 보고 많이 경험하는 것들이 우리의 상상력들을 좀 넓힐 거라고 생각합니다. 네, 우리나라 교실에서 지적받기에 딱 좋은 의자 까딱이고 있는 애, 책상에 올라가는 애들이 자연스럽게 받아들이는 게 좀 부럽다. 사실은 우리나라에 와서 제가 농담처럼 말하는데 객지에 와서 고생만 하다 갔다고 표현하는데 열린 교육이라고 그 우리나라에 들어왔었잖아요. 사실은 열린 교육이라는 건 태도이자 접근 방법인 거예요. 그러니까 이런 지금 손정희 선생님이 말씀하신 게 가능한 건 열린 교육이기 때문에 가능한 건 거거든요. 무엇을 오픈 에듀케이션, 그러니까 무엇을 오픈하느냐의 개념인데 우리는 이제 굉장히 그 태도나 이 생각의 오픈이 아니라 그냥 환경만 오픈했죠. 그래서 벽 무너뜨리고 막 카페트 깔고 책상 치우고 이랬다가 해보니까 태도가 안 바뀌어 있고 우리의 발상이 안 바뀌어 있는 상태에선 이게 일제식 수업을 해야 되는데 집중이 안 되잖아요. 그러면서 이제 쓱 저 카페트 걷어내고 벽 다시 쌓고 그래서 돈만 들고 열린 교육은 객지에 와서 고생만 하다 갔다고 제가 농담을 하는데 그런 우리의 생각과 발상부터 어떻게 좀 바뀔 것인가가 더 중요한 문제일 것 같습니다. 한 편만 더 이어서 좀 보기로 하겠습니다.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Yaakov Echt, and we are today in chapter number 5 of democratic learning, and we will focus in this chapter about the partners. I think that we talked a lot before that the partners, it's very important in the field of democratic education, because if you want to give to your student more option to learn, you need more and much more partners than the traditional teachers that they are at school. We need much more partners that can make the teaching option much bigger. So the basic partner that we have in the field of education, the inside partner is the staff, the teacher. The teacher, they know much more than what they teach. And we need to think what teacher can teach that it's not connected to the traditional teaching. We are in democratic education, a lot of teachers teach something from their passion. Because we found that when teacher teach something that is passion, it's much more connect to the student. Another very important partner is the student. As we said before, the student involved in democratic education and making decision, and also run the decision. They're in community that do everything at school. And in this case, we found a lot of students that they have different specialties. And in these specialties, they can be a teacher and make the option of the other student much bigger. Another very, very important option of partners is the parents. Parents can bring to the school a lot of expertise. And parents can not only bring cakes or go to visit, help us of build something inside the school. They can bring something that in this field they are maybe one of the best in our area. So what we build, we have a lot of options in democratic school. One of them is, for example, that every family bring one workshop to the school every year. In this case, we can build like if this is the timetable of the class, of the school, we can build one day that it will be only with workshop of parents. Not only that they bring workshop, we put their specialties in our site, and when our students build a project, they can work with the parents of other families. And that's become very, 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 very powerful. We have external partners. It's not a partners from inside school, but from outside school. What it means? For example, we can bring other classrooms that teach with our classrooms by a video conference, or other students that they are expertise that can help us to bring knowledge that we don't have. But the major things that happen in the field of democratic education is the connection to what we call education city. Education city is when the whole city, all the environment around the school become one big school. So we can do that, we make connection between schools. Why school need to be isolated? You can work with other school partners. We can have different teachers from other school partners with us. We can have option that our students go to learn one day in other school. And not only school, we can have connection with factories, with museums, with other things that exist inside the city. This is, for example, the city of Hadera, and we have connection with the power station that we work there, that exists near our school, and students go to learn about energy in this power station. And we also work with the Department of Nature, how to make our river clean. So we can do a lot of projects with partners outside school. It's very, very, very important that what we are doing, it will be more in, we call it the art of collaboration. When we have a lot of partners, you can bring to your classroom, to your student, much more option to find their uniqueness, to find their passion, or what Ken Robinson was saying, find their element. So thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Yaakov Echt and we are today.
네. 그 학부모들에 대해서는 굉장히 우리나라에서 뿐만 아니라 전 세계적으로 논란들이 있는 것 같아요. 왜 그럴까 생각해 보면 사실은 지금의 학부모들은 교육을 대단히 상품으로 인식하고 있죠. 네, 그러니까 본인들도 그렇고 자기 자녀를 위해서도 늘 교육 상품들을 구매해 오는 데 익숙해 있어요. 그래서 지금의 공교육 체제 역시 이 상품 중에 하나죠. 무료 상품이라고 생각하거나 아니면 세금을 낸 대가로 받는 상품이라고 생각하는 거예요. 우리가 뭐 예를 들어 물건을 샀는데 그 물건이 불량품이거나 제대로 작동을 안 한다거나 문제가 생기면 소비자 센터에 가서 따지잖아요. 아니 이런 물건을 팔았어? 니들이 어떻게 이럴 수 있어? 내가 돈을 얼마를 냈는데 뭐 이러고 따지잖아요. 그러니까 그 교육 상품도 마찬가지인 건 거죠. 뭐 학부모들이 교사의 멱살을 잡았다고 개탄을 하고 뭐 세상이 말세야 교권이 추락했어 뭐 이런 얘기들 많이 나오는데 저는 우리가 이걸 그 교육을 계속해서 상품으로 바라보는 이상은 이 문제는 절대 해결되지 않을 거라고 봐요. 그렇잖아요. 소비자의 권리잖아요. 문제가 하자가 있다고 생각하면 가서 멱살이라도 잡고 내 권리를 따져야 되는 거죠. 그게 당연한 건 거예요. 이 자본주의 사회 속에서. 그러니까 이 교육이 저는 더 이상 상품이 되어서는 안 되고 우리가 다른 방식으로 교육을 학부모와 교사가 관계 맺어야 너는 소비자고 나는 공급자야 라는 개념으로 만나지 않아야 될 거라고 생각하는데 그것이 이제 지금 야콥 팩트 선생님이 말씀하시는 방식대로라면 완전히 다른 관계들이 형성되는 거죠. 그래서 교사와 학부모가 말로만 같은 교육의 주체고 동반자가 아니라 실제로 동반자가 되고 이게 상품 가치와 교환 가치로서 존재하는 것이 아니라 우리가 함께 우리의 삶을 같이 만들어가는 과정 속에서 교육이 존재하려면 어떻게 해야 되는가에 대한 본질적인 고민이 같이 되지 않으면 저는 이걸 뭐 교권 추락의 문제로만 접근해서 절대 해결되지 않을 거라고 생각해요. 뭐 부모님들이 선생님들 앞에 무릎을 꿇고 뭐 회초리를 갖다 바치는 퍼포먼스를 한다고 해서 저는 그런 방식으로 이 문제가 해결될 거라고 보지 않아요. 네. 그래서 우리가 어떻게 다른 방식의 다른 관계를 맺을 수 있을 것인가가 역시 우리한테 놓인 좀 과제이고 숙제겠다라는 생각이 좀 듭니다. 영상이 2개 남았는데 2개가 조금 다 짧은 영상들이니까 오늘 요거까지 좀 마저 보고 끝냈으면 좋겠어요. 안 그러면 뒤에 또 진도가 너무 밀리니까 오늘 조금 진도를 빼도록 하겠습니다.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone, I am Yaakov Echt and I will talk today in chapter number 6 of the democratic learning, and we will focus this time about evaluation. In most of the democratic school, when we go to choose how they do the evaluation, we will find a dialogue of evaluation. It's something like the student say what they think about what they done, and about what they learn. They will get feedback from the teachers, some places from their peers, and that's the idea of the dialogue evaluation. It can be on paper when you write about what you think, or it can be also by talking with one another. But the basic idea in democratic education is that the dialogue between the teacher and the student about the assessment or the evaluation of what you've done. In some democratic school, we can say something very, very interesting, and it's a peer evaluation. What is a peer evaluation? You can do it like a traditional test that you give to the student, and then you switch between this tests. So I get as a student test from another student, and I check it. How I check it? I can get the structure of the good results, the good answers from the teachers, and then I am evaluated. I can evaluate it by words and or by numbers. A lot of students that I talk with them, they say that when they make evaluation to their peers, they learn much more than in the lessons itself. So a peer evaluation is very, very, very powerful way of evaluate in democratic education. Something that connect to peer evaluation is a evaluation of a team evaluation as a group. We have as a group grades. It's something like we call it Classroom 2.0. And as you remember, we give the student a grade. So you see here, so it's, for example, can be 8. And then you ask the student how they can get better grades, and they begin to think how they can teach one another, and then they get also grades and grades. So it's like a biofeedback of the classroom. So the classroom, every student get his evaluation or his grades, but we have also the grades of the classroom. So it can be the classroom grades of mathematics, and everyone in the classroom, every student begin to think how we can do our grades will be better. So how we can learn with one another that the grades will be better. Let's make the classroom as a team, and like a football team, that it's very connect to one another, and we want to achieve one achievement as a team. To the end, I bring Sugata Mitva, because Sugata Mitva say about evaluation something very, very important. He say, I don't important to me how you make this test, but the big question if it's with open internet or with closed internet. So if you make the evaluation or the test with open internet, from the point of view of Sugata Mitva, you make a big change in the world. What it's mean? It's mean if I will give you a test with the open internet, you can ask other people, you can ask Google, you can do connection with whom you want. So it's totally different question will be the question if I will make you a test without internet or with internet. But it's not only it will be different question, it will be different way of learning. How I teach you to, when I know that the exams will be about answers that not exist in the field, in the internet. So Sugata Mitva call it like to ask a big question. Big question from the point of view of Sugata, it's a question that have no answer in the internet. Like, what will be, look the world after the corona, or when the corona will disappear? This is a big question without answers. So the way that you answer, it's become very, very interesting from the point of view of Sugata Mitra. So this was some examples of the evaluation in the field of democratic education, and we will meet together in the next session about time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
네, 평가가 네, 그 중요하죠. 네, 곽도 선생님 지금 말씀하신 대로 교사가 열정을 갖고 있는 것을 가르쳐라 라는 야코펙트의 이야기가 와닿았다. 과목이라는 관점에서 사고하고 과목을 가르치고 이것을 숫자가 된 점수로 평가하기 때문에 역량이라는 것에 대해서 생각하기가 어렵다. 네, 고등학교의 고교학점제가 전면화될 예정이고 고교학점제가 시범학교가 늘어나고 있는데 교사들이 많이 반대하고 있다. 전통적인 과목 교수 학습 평가 점수 매기기라는 방식에서 벗어나서 완전히 다른 과목을 가르쳐야 하기 때문이다. 네, 이렇게 말씀하셨어요. 뭐 이건 그 초중고 선생님들만 그런 게 아닌 것 같아요. 대학 교수들도요. 사실 그 대학생들한테 오픈북 테스트를 할 만한 그 시험 문제를 출제하는 게 이 친구들한테 대학생들한테도 훨씬 더 도움이 되거든요. 훨씬 더 사고할 만한 거리들이 많아지고, 네, 저는 주로 이제 그 지금은 여기 대전에 와서 대학원 대학교에서 있기 때문에 학부생들이 없지만 예전에 학부생들 가르칠 때는 주로 이제 그 모둠학습을 모둠별로 과제들을 주고 그거를 이제 같이 팀별로 뭔가 과제들을 수행해 오는 과정에서 나온 것들을 가지고 이제 평가하고 동료 평가하고 제가 그 모둠별 평가하고 그 다음에 제가 평가하고 이 세 가지 방식으로 평가를 해서 합치는데 거의 네 정확한 평가가 나와요. 거의 일치해요. 그리고 그랬을 때 이제 자기들이 한 활동들을 기반으로 해서 오픈북으로 문제를 내면 그런데 이게 평가하기가 되게 번거로워요. 사실은 네 10문제 이 괄호넣기 내는 게 훨씬 편하죠. 그러면 맞은 놈 틀린 놈 뭐 그냥 바로 빡 나오니까 더더군다나 이게 뭐 소규모 수업일 때는 괜찮은데 막 200명씩 듣는 대형 강의면은요 이렇게 애들 개별 평가하고 모둠 평가하고 이 모둠별 평가하고 오픈북 테스트하고 이러면은요 죽어요 정말 학기 말에 평가하느라고. 그러니까 사실은 네. 이 빵꾸 뚫어놓고 정답 맞추는 게 훨씬 쉽죠. 그런데 그것이 얼마나 그 교육적으로 그 아이들의 삶을 바꿔낼 것인가. 제가 맡았던 과목이 교육이란 무엇인가였었거든요. 그 과목을 가르치면서 교육이란 무엇인가라는 질문이 과목명인데 도저히 그렇게는 이 빵꾸 뚫어놓고 답안 맞추라고 200명한테 그렇게 얘기는 못 하겠더라고요. 근데 진짜 힘들고 번거롭고 네, 어려운 일이기는 해요. 그래서 사실은 평가의 문제가 교육을 바꾼다는 건 맞는 것 같아요. 네, 네, 자 마지막 비디오 마저 좀 보고 오늘 이야기를 좀 정리하도록 하겠습니다.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. I'm Yaakov Echt, and I'm in chapter number 7 of democratic learning. And in this chapter, we will talk about time and democratic education. You know the time in traditional school, it's most of the time from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, or some places it can be until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and when we're talking about learning, we're talking about this time of that the student go to school. In some other places, and especially in democratic education, we believe that learning is 24/7. We learn all the time. So we can make learning in different places in the night or in the evening, afternoon, or in the evening. We can go to play football together. That can be a learning. We can do social things together with other people, and we can be in the internet. So we can look about what the student do all the 24 hours in 7 days as a schedule of what he is doing. And the time that he is in school, it's only time that push and accelerate the power of learning in the 24/7. So the time at school, it's only a place that give you power to continue to learn after school. Or as in a lot of theoretical places in the world, we're talking about lifelong learning. So that someone need to learn all his life. And school is a place to learn how to learn. So you learn how to learn with your teacher, but you continue to do it afternoon, in the evening, in the nights, in the weekends. You do it all your time. People learn everything all the time. I, for example, when I talk with you now, I learn a lot of things. So then I think now we come to a very exciting question about time. What is the time now that the coronavirus came, the COVID-19 coming? What is the situation of this COVID-19 in the field of democratic education? So in the field of democratic education, I think like all the situation in education, it's make us to work as a hybrid school. What it means? Part of the time we are in online learning and part at home, and part of the time we are in schools. So what it's happened now in the field of democratic education, because we have a lot of connection, international connection, so school become online as an international school that is connect students from all over the world that going to learn together. All over the world, it's connect to time, because when it's morning in Korea, it's, for example, night in Israel. So children begin to learn about learning together with students from different countries, and they understand that the time is very, very flexible. But it's become like a magic, because it's the first time that students understand that they can learn English from different schools together, or they can learn about the goals of the United Nations and look about the point of view about cleaning the water from the point of view of different places in the world. So in this case, we can say that we are in democratic learning, moving from pyramid to network, and from learning in the box of your school to learn with people from all over the world. And this is, I think, something very unique that happened now with the coronavirus, that the whole world become one big learning area. And if it's all the world, it's become really 24/7, because the time is different in every place in the world. And that's something very, very magic. And I think when you begin to learn with other classrooms from different places in the world, you make the world much more safety, and much more people know one another, and they can bring solution that they don't found before it. So thank you and see you soon.
제 소리가 들리시나요? 네. 갑자기 마이크가 안 된다고 메시지가 떠서 깜짝 놀랐어요. 네. 예, 코로나 이후의 시대에 우리의 학교는 어떻게 될 것인가. 네. 저는 야코베트 선생님이 얘기한 대로 일종의 하이브리드 학교가 될 수밖에 없을 거다라고 생각하고, 지금 저희 과에서 석사과정 하시는 선생님하고도 어떻게 공교육 교사, 중학교 국어 선생님이신데 어떻게 이 온라인과 오프라인을 결합한 방식으로 대안적인 학습을 할 수 있을 것인가를 수업 설계를 주제로 지금 같이 이 논문을 쓰고 있거든요. 네. 결국은 그렇게 갈 수밖에 없을 거라는 생각은 좀 들고요. 어쨌든 아까 제가 말씀드린 대로 우리가 계속해서 좀 발상의 전환들, 기존의 교육의 방식만을 고수하는 게 아니라 우리가 기존에 생각하지 못했었던 것들을 계속 교육 안에서 받아들이고 그 안에서 어떤 교육이 가능할 것인가를 또 고민하고, 이런 작업들이 굉장히 중요할 것 같고요. 그런 측면에서 이제 요 다음 주제가 온라인을 활용해서 어떻게 민주적인 학습이 가능한가예요. 그래서 다음 시간에는 온라인을 주제로 민주교육에 대한 이야기들을 같이 다뤄볼 계획입니다. 네, 혹시 마치기 전에 질문하시고 싶으시거나 뭔가 이야기하시고 싶으신 게 있으실까요? 네, 특별히 없으시면 광고 하나만 드리겠습니다. 저희 이 대학이 지금 대한교육학과 석사 박사과정 학생 신입생 모집 중인데, 박사과정은 다 찼는데 석사과정이 몇 자리가 남았어요. 네, 그래서 아마 추가 모집을 하게 될 것 같은데, 주변에 공부하시기 원하시는 선생님들 좀 적극적으로 소개해 주시면 좋겠습니다. 저희는 화수목 이렇게 3일 저녁에 수업이 있으니까 뭐 사흘을 다 나오셔야 되는 건 아니고 6시 반부터 수업이니까 뭐 하루만 나오셔도 되고 이틀 나오시면 제일 좋고, 하루만 나오시면 이제 학기가 조금 길어질 수는 있죠. 그래서 주변에 선생님들께 이런 다양한 교육에 대한 상상력들을 좀 함께 공부하실 만한 분들 적극적으로 좀 소개해 주시면 좋겠습니다. 3자리 남았습니다. 네, 자, 오늘도 수고하셨고요. 다음 주에 또 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 고맙습니다.